Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of R.E.A.D.Y, Real Estate and Divorce Plus You. And today we have a topic which is highly discussed in all of economics: rates, mortgages. Is it a good time to buy? Should we not buy? Should we freak out because of the rate? And I like that we're tackling this because I think there are some big elephants in the room with regard to rate, and we're going to just break it down, and we're going to show everybody that it's always a good time to buy. It's all in how you structure it. Would you agree with that, Ken? What do you think about that?
I would definitely agree with that. Just you got to frame it in your mind, and it's different for everybody because everybody's in a different place in their life. So it really is important to understand with the interest rates how it affects. Like if you're a short-term buyer, if you're going to buy for like 2 or 3 years and might have to move out of state, or if you're going to be in this house for a long time. But there's always a question mark, and then there's the experience of what happened over the last 20 years with the rates haven't dropped over a period of time. Then the foreclosure crisis. There's a lot of concern of buy high and sell low, and I think that's a lot of what we're seeing going on is people concerned about what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the market. Are the housing prices going to drop because the interest rates go up? And personally, we're seeing some moderation, I think you would say, but I think the rates haven't increased, has not really translated. Historically speaking, these are very, very good interest rates. They were up at 7. They came down to in the high 5s. They're floating between high 5s and mid 6s right now, which historically speaking is really good. So
Right. And it doesn't help that we've had, inflation a bit, and, they talk of recession, and recession is just 2 quarters of negative growth. So it's like, I think when people hear the word recession, they equate that with crash, like what we had in '08. And so I think it's just important that people understand everything is cyclical. Finances are cyclical. Real estate is cyclical. Everything
I
ebbs
saw
and flows.
something, though, I think on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, where it actually had the price of, or a couple different prices with what the monthly payment ends up being. But I know a few months ago, or even longer, within the past year or two, where prices were really high, there'd be a huge bidding war. Whatever somebody's listing their house for, they're usually expecting to get more than that, and they were getting more than that, but with a ridiculously low interest rate. Whereas now they're listing it, and I saw some stuff that realtors were posting that the houses are actually selling for less than asking price now, and there might only be 1 or 2 people on it as opposed to 20 people all bidding on it. And considering the current interest rate, it worked out, the math on it, and you guys would know better than me, but it looked like the monthly payment was about the same.
It didn't. I'm sorry. I love social media, and I love the awareness of social media, but those memes that were going around, if you mathematically did it, it did not work out.
I'm not very good at math, so I never did it.
No. And that's where the education, and I was trying to post and saying, okay, well, here's a correct math, and I felt bad because I'm glad that a lot of real estate agents and mortgage lenders were putting that out there to help curve the conversation. I like the idea. However, the numbers weren't correct with their math. So when it was broken down, I just liked that it was giving that correct buzz, but incorrect numbers. So you have to really talk to a professional, make sure you know who you're talking to. But the buzz of the idea of having that ability to say, hey, look at this. We're not overbidding, like what you're saying. I did like the idea to open up the eyes, because I feel like social media, the news, more so the news, has been so negative and have been putting fear into everybody. Be careful, be careful, be careful. They know the feds are going to talk a whole week beforehand. What's going to happen? Is it dooms? Is it going to be good? This lead up is sad in a way. When that meme came out, I was excited about the meme. However, the numbers weren't correct. It did open up the eyes and the conversation of, hey, look at this. The home values are reducing. They're leveling out. But we still have an increase. And Holly, you can probably speak to this better. Is it 5% every year that a home increases in value?
I wouldn't say it's a set amount every single year.
But it increases,
they have
though.
So they have projected for the next couple of years for home values to increase. Of course, projections are based on current
still
data.
Increase, right?
Yes, current data.
Always
but
been an increase.
we don't have, we have to live life, right? So we don't have a crystal ball. So they're looking at, increases, and it depends on your area. So it might be 1.6 factor increase. It might be 2.6. It might be. It depends where you're at.
But it also might go down, right?
It could. I mean, in different areas, different things are happening. So again, we're looking at. I looked at Macomb County as a whole between. I think it was October, November, and the pricing had gone down about 5% ish. But if you look inside of those cities in Macomb, some of them hadn't gone down 5%. So again, it's just, we do this global thing where we want to help people. But here's what the nitty gritty is this. If you're going to buy a house, the rules are always the same. Look at your finances. Can you afford the house? Look at your payment. I love, there's a lot of great financial experts that say you should have about 6 months, in a nest egg, living expenses. So if the worst happens, you lose your job or something happens. And I think what happens is if people just really kind of get on board with what can we afford, then everything else just takes care of itself. There's no fear anymore. The fear is just,
not when you live within your means.
When you live above your means, you should always be a little concerned because that's not a great way to do it. Coming from a single mom of the last decade, you have to kind of
just adulting period.
Pull it in a little bit. What can you afford to do? And then don't worry so much about the rate because what are you going to not buy a house? Look at the rate. Yes, it affects your payment. Yes, talk to your real estate professional and see what pricing is doing and where can I offer? Can I go a little lower? Can I come in? And again, real estate agents, just price the house properly. Price the house properly. Let the market do what it's supposed to do. But again, you just need to live within your means. That's the golden rule of real estate.
The most important thing, and I always say to everybody who's been preaching, is people usually go to the real estate agents first, and then the real estate agents refer them to us. But the best thing you can do for yourself, and I call it investing in the decision. What does that mean? Investing in the decision, really the ramifications are that after you close on that house, and whether it's perfect house or whatever it is along that spectrum of your housing, you have to write that check every single month there on after. You got to know what's going to happen, the changes, the taxes, what can happen with the taxes the next year. Investing in that decision and taking 3 to 6 months beforehand can do a lot of things with the credit. I've had people, it's a game, you learn to play it or it plays you. You can raise your credit 50, 60 points. It can make a difference of what you can afford. But if you can sit down with us 3 to 6 months beforehand, the cost of that is nothing. And we'll educate you on what to do. And then you'll have a better feeling moving forward of, how to measure a decision, where to look. I mean, is it too much? Do you want to, a lot of people are so afraid of being house poor, but, they might buy something that doesn't work for them, so be a little over conservative. I'm not saying I'm typically a conservative person, but I see a lot of people make mistakes of being over conservative, and it's great because in 6 months or a year, I'll get a call that they're going to want to buy something else, which is always nice to happen.
Save extra money.
I like how you brought up on the taxes changing the next year. A lot of people don't discuss the uncapping of taxes with the millage and the new purchase price. That is huge because I have quite a few clients, one specifically who she was dead set living in Indian Village in Detroit, dead set. Her taxes were uncapping an extra $350 a month for taxes.
Wow.
And so
we need to do a show just on that.
I made sure, like what Ken was saying, come to us. Let's discuss it. I make sure that uncapping. Now, is it perfect? No. Is it going to be down to the penny? Absolutely not. But you have a good idea. Is it going to uncap $25, $100, $200, $300? This one client, when she closed, she knew it was going to go up $350 a month. I sat down with her. The real estate agent knew, and everybody was happy. I'm like, you can afford this next year. And I knew she could, but even thinking about it mentally and getting prepared for it next year, sitting down with us, that's what's huge. And having that open conversation of transparency, this is going to have to happen. This is going to happen. The city's going to want their taxes.
And that's good that you guys say that because I've had
the city wants it. You can't get around it.
Uncle Sam's coming for you.
It's good that you guys take that into consideration and tell your clients that. Where I've had some of my divorce clients go to get a loan and they weren't told by their lenders, their mortgage professionals that it's going to happen. People don't think about it. They're excited. They look and see what their payment is and what the taxes are. But I've seen it go up, $10,000+, $10,000 or more.
Absolutely.
Sometimes even $20,000, depending on the area where the house is and the value of the house and all that. And that could be a big shock. That could be a whole other mortgage payment in some situations or a luxury car payment.
100%. Because what if that person that you purchased a house from only purchased it 3 years ago? So the taxes are based off of 3 years ago millage. What if that was a grandparent that kids got it in a trust and had to sell it? So that house was purchased in 1960, 1970, 1990, and those taxes are
Yeah.
due to that purchase price, current millage, but due to that value
Yeah.
of 1980 as it increased throughout the years. Huge difference. And that's what happened with my client. She actually purchased a home, I believe, through a trust, and the home was originally purchased in 1970.
Well,
That's why
well,
those taxes
Crazy.
were going up so high.
Yeah.
Because
And then
So
for
I've
those of our audience that don't know that it's that, correct me if I'm wrong, the Headley Amendment, right? An
I don't
attorney.
know.
The Headley Amendment is like your property taxes only can go up by the cost of inflation or 4%, whichever is less. So from year to year, if the prices are going up 7 to 10%, like they have been the last several years, your taxes only can go up by a
Oh,
maximum
I
of
didn't know that.
4%. So that's where there's like, you can imagine just that variance between what the taxes are taxed at and what it's uncapped at. So the new home buyer will go to that new tax rate. So you can always, and it's always public information. So you can look it up to see what it's going to be, and it's not speculative. Too many people that buy, and that's
mhm.
something that Holly and I, we've worked together a lot over the years, is just we always make sure our clients are aware of what they're going to be next year. There's a fact in the play, because you can look at something in St. Clair Shores, it's $2,200, and it's going to be up to
Yeah.
$6,500 next year
We
because they're,
definitely need to do a show
yeah,
just specifically to
yeah,
this, which I think we're going to do really
yeah,
soon. So just getting back to what we're talking about now, though, with these rates. So,
yes,
so Ken, we're talking about, everyone needs to live within their means and, real estate ebbs and flows. But I know that you have some solutions. You and
hmm,
Cece have some solutions for people because we do have ways to combat a higher rate with different loan products. And again, have a great professional
hmm.
that knows what loan product to put you in always. That's just an always thing. But right now, why don't you kind of just go through some of the things that you're doing, that products that you have that will help with pulling the rate back just a bit?
Okay.
And I'm going to interrupt real quick, but something that you say is within their means or not. You know where I see this, at least between my clients and some of the people I just hear talking socially, I see that usually it's sometimes people that aren't really concerned or aren't on a budget, the ones that do have the cash and do have the money and do have the ability and purchasing power. I feel like sometimes they're more conservative right now. I know a lot of people, I've been hearing a lot of conversations from people, just whether it be bar talk or restaurant talk or whatever it is, where people are saying that, hey, I'm waiting to to borrow money for a construction loan now, or I'm waiting to build or waiting to buy to see what's going to happen with the market, what's going to happen with the rates. Whereas sometimes I see that if people that are concerned on their budget, of their budget, but maybe are going through a divorce situation or need to buy a house or getting relocated for work, they're not so much thinking, hey, this interest rate is going to deter me. They might end up just still making the move, but buying a less expensive home or something
Hmm.
like that. But I don't know. At least from what I've been seeing, um, everybody is interested in this, and I don't think it. I mean, I'm sure it matters whether they're on a budget or not, but I'm seeing that a lot in people waiting to build or waiting to purchase that are just sitting back and waiting, and they might have the means to go ahead and do it. So I am interested, as Holly said, what are the different products, but also, I mean, I know none of us know what the future holds, but should somebody hold back on purchasing right now or not, or
On the
what's your
construction, on the
what are your
speculative
thoughts?
side with the construction, I think a big variable within the construction is the cost of contractors and the cost of supplies. I think we saw long, and I think the supply chain is still a big problem. So it's pushing prices up. So the cost to build is very high now. So I think if we see a recession, that it's going to push prices back down for the
Okay,
cost of contractors and also the cost of supplies. So you're building, it's speculative. We don't know that for sure. They could continue going up. I think nobody knows
yeah,
for sure what's going
correct.
to happen. But definitely it's being conservative in that approach will save, potentially big mistakes. So I think it's a good thing. But I know you asked about the interest rates
Hmm.
and what there is, and the one product that a lot of what is expected to happen over the next year, and I don't know if it will, because rates are expected to come back down into the fours for a 30-year, which is, you know, towards the end of next year. That would not be. It's an exact opposite. Like some people, well, we'll just wait for the rates to come down. That is not the right move.
Hmm.
With that said, you can qualify what's called a 2-1 or a 3-2-1 buy down, where the interest rate for the first year is 2% lower, for the second year is 1% lower, and with the market being where there's not 18 offers going in every house, the seller can pay for these. The 3-1 buy down, there's, the 2-1 buy down is about 2.2 or 2.3% of the loan amount that cost up front that you can get the seller to pay for. And there's a formula for the 3-2-1 buy down that's relatively new, where the interest rate's bought down for that period of time. So the payment is much lower over the interim. So you don't want to, the speculative approach to that is like, you don't want to buy a house that's beyond your means, hoping that the rates will come down.
Right.
But there are situations where you're in school, someone's, you're getting married next year or something where it's a really good program, I think, and it allows for that step into the mortgage, and a lot of chances for with the rates do come down next year, you'll be able to refinance it. And the good thing with the buy down, if you pay any money up front, it's like the money doesn't go into the lender's pocket. It goes into an escrow account that pays down part of your mortgage payment for you. So it draws down from that account over that 2 or 3 year period. So in 9 months, in November, if the interest rates are at 4.5, you can secure that rate, and whatever's left in that escrow, like that little side account, gets applied towards the principal balance. So it's not
Ooh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's
cool.
a facet I didn't know.
And it helps someone be financially responsible. And let me put a little tidbit in there that Ken didn't say. You have to still qualify for the full interest rate, not the buy down price. So you still have to be able to financially afford, with your debt to income, the initial interest rate, which will be nice. As what Ken was saying, buying down the interest rate, you can financially save for the uncapping next year, for quite a few different things. But it's just that nice financial relief from inflation right now. And it'll give that, my first word was courage, having someone saying, okay, I'm going to go buy this house, but maybe more so confident / courage. Because I feel
encouragement.
I know, encouragement. To go out and purchase now without having to bid against 18 other
and
offers.
not freaking out. And when you said the seller can pay for it, just so everyone's clear, that would be in the form of a concession. And I have seen that. So with my listings, they almost not all. When you get an offer that doesn't have a concession, you're really excited, but it's very common right now. Concessions used to be, sellers didn't like them because obviously they felt like, why am I helping them buy this house? And in the market we've had the last couple of years, you didn't see lots of concessions. But right now, when I talk to sellers, I say, listen, you want to get offers. We want to help the buyers out a little bit. So the way that you can do this is offer, if you give them a concession, it helps them because like you said, it's what 1.7 or 2.2% of the loan is what it costs the buyer to do the buy down products. So the seller can help offset that. And I've had offers structured where they offered over ask and then came back with the concession so that my seller was still netting where they wanted to shake out.
Is that allowed though? And is there some sort of cap on that?
As long as the house appraises, that's a big function. It's got to fall within the valuation for the mortgage. And within that, so we push a button and an appraisal comes out there. And as long as the house appraises for it, they can find comparables. So a lot of times there's a back and forth. So if they, if it does go over asking, it needs to appraise. So if it doesn't come at that full amount, there's a renegotiation that would take place before you, move forward to the closing.
And then the percentages for what you can with an FHA is different than a conventional.
Typically, on a conventional mortgage, it's 3% concessions up. But if you go up to 10% down or higher, you can go up to 6%.
Oh, so those are the limits. So there are limits.
Yes, on how many concessions.
FHA is 6%.
So I've also seen, this is interesting, I've seen things structured where to get around that, when people really start to get strategic, if you can't go higher in the concessions, but you want to, there's also like different ways to escrow. Like you could call it like a construction escrow, not so much construction escrow, I'm using the wrong term, but if they were going to do certain repairs based on an inspection report, they can hold an escrow. It's kind of like the same as a pool. We have a pool escrow too, because you can't open a pool right now, so we can't inspect a pool. So they'll hold it until like June, you give a date in June or when it has to be open. So certain escrows, if it's done properly, and you have to, of course, have the lender approve it and it has to be done the right way. But people are getting really strategic right now because, again, we look at the market and we come up with products and services, and we structure. It's not, every deal is not the same. Every contract is not the same. Your contracts are all different. When you write different things, and every divorce you go through is different. You structure things so we can do things that way. It's not like, even though we have a form contract, we can still structure things so that everybody wins. And right now, it's like everyone's really got to be on a team. Yeah. Like, we're all playing together on the same team.
So back to
one.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the 2-1, and I didn't really even think about that. Just spurred me on. As far as your divorce situation, that would be a perfect situation to do the buy downs. With the interest rate and the payment, especially if one spouse hasn't been working, or if they're getting back into the working field.
Yeah.
Maybe their expectations. Once things get back to normal, to put more hours in or search for the right job. But the 2-1 buy down could be something great for that spouse that's buying a house after a divorce that needs to adjust to the budgets and everything.
So back to social media posts, something else I keep seeing realtors say, and maybe CC, you could be a fact checker on this, but I keep hearing, what is it? Date the rate, marry the house. Is that correct? Did I say that right? Yeah, I hear that all the time. What do you think of that?
We've been saying this for 6 months now, Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah. Marry the house, you date the rate. It's true. You find the house that you want. When you want it, you want it. Don't be scared. That's where that fear comes in, and that's what will make someone not take that step. This will encourage someone to take that step, and just remember, there's always refinancing. It always happens.
So it's a lot easier to break up when you're not married.
The rate was is because if rates come down to 4.5, and you got that house at 6.5, and you're getting used to that payment at, let's say, $2,500 a month. If it comes down that 2%, it comes down $500 a month. You look at the history of interest rates. They up and down. I mean, the last 20 years, it's been like 2 steps down, 1 step up. So it.
And my parents, I was talking to my dad the other day, and we're talking about refinancing. He's like, our childhood home, I refinanced 4 times. Well, he purchased that home in 1987. So
18% or something.
Well, so when my parents first bought their very first home, it was 18% back in
81
the 70s.
And 81 it hit 18% too, because I saw the rate chart started in the 70s that I saw to current, and the average rate from the 70s, whatever that date was in the 70s till now, is 12% is the average. Historical average is 12%.
So we're still low. We're still below average.
We're like, if we're looking at 6%, we're half that. Even if it goes to 7, I mean, it's not to say that anyone doesn't want it to go up. We don't want it to go up, but it's not like the sky is not falling.
No, and
our parents did it.
Like my father said the other night, he's refinanced 4 times, and each time it was beneficial, and that's where we grew up, and that was worth it. He married the home. He dated the rate.
The problem I think with that meme is because everybody. So I don't put stuff out that everyone else does, but that's where it gets annoying because everyone was putting out. You're probably like, nonstop. Can I stop seeing it? It became like, okay, enough already. People got annoyed by it.
It was cool the first couple of times.
Right. The first couple times you see it, then you're like, dude, can you get something new? Let's get off the marry the house, date the rate. Because it does get annoying when everybody's posting the same thing. But the message is at least clear.
Behind it is that looking at someone who owned a home that raised his children in, he refinanced 4 times. And that's just the way it goes.
What's about is bringing this all together, because I know with our timing we have to. It's really about reconciling your decision against your reality, against your budgets, and you have to feel good about that decision with the interest rate. So whatever it is, buying the buy down, expectations of the rate going down. We don't know. The reality is that in the worst case scenario, they're never going to come down. You want to be able to afford that payment as is. But there's the realities that we're talking about really are. A lot of the mortgage companies that come up with like the sales aspects, and they sound good, and they make sense, and I do like them, but it really is important just to, again, like I said, reconcile your decision against your reality, whether you're whatever that may be, and only each person's got to figure that out for themselves, and the best way to do that again is just to invest yourself in that decision 3 to 6 months beforehand, and take the time as a family or as a person to really you can't really afford with a house. It's a big decision. That's one of the biggest decisions you don't want to make a mistake on. So
I guess in sum, or what I'm gathering from this is that there's no guarantees. We can't predict the future. You have to do what works for you.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like there's some things out there that can make sense to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And budget, stay within your budget. And it's good that you have to qualify already. I like that you have to qualify at the current rate so that they know that they're within their means. And then it's just, hey, we're going to subsidize for a couple of years, help you out a little bit, and we'll see where it's at. When you're ready, you can refi. I like it.
That helps.
Well,
All
good
right.
plan.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys. This was some great information, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week.
Have a great one.
Take care, guys.